New York Fashion Week starts on Sunday. Yes, there is going to be a New York Fashion Week. I want to bring in Rebecca Minkoff. She's a designer. Rebecca, I mean, it's incredible. I almost feel like that this is getting pulled off at all. I want to ask you, because retail has just had so much stress coming out of the pandemic. We are constantly reporting on different bankruptcies. We had Lord and Taylor in July, and just yesterday or this week, I mean, Century 21. Century 21. I used to go there all the time. I mean, I remember the one that used to be at Ground Zero. They still have that there, but it was closed. Anyhow, it's mind-boggling to me. As somebody in the fashion industry right now, what is the mood like among people at Fashion Week? I mean, it has to have changed from the heyday of when it was Sex and the City and Bryant Park. All right. Like, is it like a wake there, or still feel like a celebration?
So first of all, I remember that Century 21. That's where I got my first coat when I was 18 and moved to New York City. So that has a very meaningful event for me because I came from Florida and it was quite a different weather. Fashion Week is definitely different this year, but I think for those of us who decided to participate, to be part of it, we need to bring the economy back in all areas. And the only way we're going to do that is by getting back to business. And so when I have the opportunity to show at Fashion Week, hire people, work with talent, not only does, the economy need this, but our community needs it, and there's a way to do this safely. We're taking so many precautions so that everyone can be safe. Everyone is being tested. Everyone will have masks. We're spacing out the arrivals, 15 people every 15 minutes. So you're not going to have the 1,000 people trying to get in anymore, but you're going to have, the people that you need to be there, the guests that are there to write about it, to see about it, to create content about it. And then the digital activation is what really kicks in so that anyone who didn't make it or who doesn't feel comfortable can still see it on the back end. So I think where there is a will, there's a way. And I think for those of us who had the will, we are saying, it's different, but we got to do this because New York City is known as the fashion capital of the world, and we gotta represent.
Rebecca, Dan Roberts here. I know for Fashion Week you've partnered up with Lowe's, and a couple other fashion names have, and it's a little bit of a surprising partnership. I mean, when we think of New York Fashion Week, you do not think of Lowe's normally. So I'd ask what that does for you and for your brand, and whether that represents a kind of a shift.
Yeah. So I think when you imagine, most large cities, people move there, to a shoebox, and their home is really what's happening outside, right? And so for me to be able to work with Lowe's and say, yes, fashion is at home. We are wearing our Zoom-worthy sweatshirts and our Zoom earrings. And now we're worried about our office spaces and what all that looks like. How do we say, as part of, my love letter, my set is really all about the places that I love going to, the music halls, the venues, the backstages. And then my curation, which is, I think what you're showing on the screen, is what this girl comes home to, or what I like to come home to in my turf. And so, I think Lowe's has done an incredible job of partnering with me and Christian Siriano and Jason Wu to really bring each designer's perspective to life and say, now that we're all working from home, we're looking with a magnifying glass at everything that's wrong with our office spaces, sometimes my bathroom floor. And so I think it made perfect sense. And as a designer, to bring the sensibility of my creation to home is something that's been long wanted and really exciting to do.
Rebecca, we have to give you some props because you have been well positioned, right, for accessible luxury. And I think you didn't take the snobby approach of perhaps some very high-end designers who really kind of resisted the e-commerce craze, didn't want to be on Amazon, wanted to make sure to protect the brand. As we endure this COVID pandemic, how do you anticipate that structure changing? Do you think that big fashion houses will have to democratize their products as they figure out, okay, we can't just appeal to a very small niche subset anymore?
For sure. I mean, you saw it happen when Vogue announced the partnership with Amazon and curated designers to be on Amazon, and suddenly now it was okay. We had already begun and have had dialogue prior to that with Amazon, so we have our own store there. But I think, when you're hit with suddenly your business shrinking, in a day or two by almost 70%, do you want to stay alive or not? And what does that mean? And so while some brands kind of afford to protect their brand equity by not doing certain things. We wanted to survive. We wanted to keep our staff. We wanted to remain a part of the community. And so what does that take? And for me, I'd rather be in business, than not, and work with people who believed in me and didn't abandon me in a dire time.
We're dealing with these dual issues this year. We have the pandemic and we also have the fight for racial justice. Every industry has been going through this reckoning. What's happening with the fashion industry?
So the fashion industry is definitely having a reckoning. I think, it can't be the call to action of just hire Black models. It's who is in your organization at executive leadership that is Black or BIPOC, right? Where is the representation, not just on the surface? And I think Aurora James from Brother Bellies, who launched the 15% pledge, has done an incredible, incredible job of taking these huge corporations to task. We know money is power. And if you can tell these corporations that have billions of dollars at their disposal to buy brands, buy Black, buy Latin-owned brands, really say, here are our dollars and we're going to invest in these communities. So I think the fashion industry needs to do a lot more than that. And they can start by taking the pledge and looking internally and saying, okay, are we represented properly? It's not just what you put on your Instagram.
Well, where there's a will, there's a way. Lots of work to be done. But New York Fashion Week, as you said, getting going. You guys are going to do it. It's exciting for New York. Even if we're not all there in person with those ladies and their really nice shoes walking by me. Rebecca Minkoff, it's fantastic to see you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.